Hi, everybody. This is day 1492. 1492 days since Richard was premeditatedly murdered on Fort Bliss. Um, and we still do not, to this date, have his remains, even though the reports are they have his remains. And our intent, of course, we have the official declaration of death. The place of death in that report, in that declaration, is Fort Bliss. If that is shocking to a lot of you, when you know that the prime suspect is Richard's platoon leader, then it doesn't become so shocking. When you know that there is collaboration between the NCOs and the officers in this cover up and what happened to Richard, then it's not so shocking. Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss. They absolutely found his remains. They have not given us our son's remains. And our job, our goal, our intent now is to get our son's remains and also to hold those that brutally murdered our son after retaliating against him because he was whistleblowing on unlawful activities, a criminal trafficking network on Fort Bliss and in the community, hurting the community, hurting Fort Bliss, breaching the security. Um, they need to be held accountable. We've had it long enough. The investigation now, there needs to be an accounting, right? There needs to be an accounting. So let's see if I'm on. Yep. Okay. Oh, thank you so much, Anicia. Thank you so much, Marilyn. Justice for Richard Halliday and his family and friends, and for the service members in the military, and for El Pasoans, and for all of those unaccompanied minors that how are they coming across unaccompanied and then disappearing? How is that happening? Right? How is that happening? There has to be a network of trafficking. There has to be, and of course, Richard was reporting on it. And, so they are absolutely criminally trafficking. Um, it's a huge portion of Richard's case, but the rest of it is also using confidential, having unauthorized access or having access to unauthorized, let's say this, having unauthorized access or having access to confidential information and then misusing the information for financial gain. It could be disability benefits for veterans. It could be insurance, SGLI. It could be all kinds of things. The bonus money that the soldiers get. I don't know. They absolutely have to investigate on that, and hold those taking advantage of their position or giving unauthorized access to the likes of like Leilani Hart uh, to uh, to tamper, to commit fraud, is it really needs to be investigated and they need to be held accountable. So I, now we've had this communication from Leilani Hart that is long, and it is already producing leads. So we received a huge lead today because of, and thank you so much for that communication. Um, it is so important because in this quest to uh, get get accountability to get Richard's remains. You get information that comes in, you get leads, and you think, oh, is this it? Is this it? Is this going to help? Is this, does this do anything? I mean, look at the absolute insanity. I call it crisis of lies that is in this communication. But what has happened is when you comb through it and you see that she threw Bob Moore under the bus, she threw James Courtney Hart under the bus, she exposes the security breaches. She exposes the weaponization of our agencies, and so you have then evidence that you can turn in. And what happens is when you turn it in, there are then leads that come from that continue. So it builds upon itself. And today we received a really important lead. And when I know more, because it was so shocking, when I know more, I will absolutely explain it all. I'm I don't have a total understanding of the lead yet, but why am I telling you this? I'm telling you that things are going on behind the scenes, that there are active, ongoing state and federal investigations going on, that every little bit of information that people receive behind the scenes that they bring forward um, helps to chip away, right? Helps to get morsel by morsel and put the whole puzzle piece together. And so what you might think is a no big deal or whatever, or it's just so full of lies, or it's just what, um, this was really massive what we got, and it is a crisis of lies. Um, but in all of that, you can comb through it, and there has to be a foundation that they're projecting from, or, nuggets of truth that, of course, by checking and fact checking and everything, that you find nuggets of truth that, and we have found so many in all of this, and it has really, really helped. And so we've turned in this information, we've gotten some responses, and those responses have given us leads because it has put us in communication with with the system. And that's what you want. You want to be in communication. They have really tried to put Richard in cold case, you see. And it's them shutting down, them not covering, them not speaking. That's why Bob Moore has not addressed us. We've reached out, giving him all kinds of evidence, no less than 15 times, but he refuses to speak with us. For Sergeant Ruggiero, who, was married to Hema Sochil, who everybody might know if you've been following this, Hema Saboteur. A huge, huge deal there because Michael Ruggiero was Richard's first sergeant, right? Very close connection to Dallas Hart, right? And Hema is in that group that is with Leilani Hart, with Bob Moore, right? So, and you would think, okay, um, what is going on here with these security breaches? And where is that leading? And, when you just put all the pieces together, it makes sense. Then Hema's reaction from the very beginning, because she was getting information from her husband, okay? And he lied to authorities. He lied to the authorities about getting the information. And then his wife contradicted him and said, so he got caught in a lie. So this is all of this is fitting together to expose um, the chain of command, the people around Richard, the cover up, the any time that we're talking to any of this I want to say because who we were talking to has nothing to do. Well, they're civilian. I'll just say that much. They're civilian. But what that did was allow us to re-engage with the agencies again. And anytime you're re-engaging with new information and new leads, they are bound to, they are supposed to take action, right? They're supposed to. So we have done that over and over and over again and combed through the open records and the responses that we got back and found new leads, found new evidence of misinformation that was framed during that whole time to mislead. And truly, what has come out is the weaponization of the agencies, the weaponization of the CID, the weaponization of the FBI. And we have to build a case for that, right? We know that they were weaponized, that they were colluding behind the scenes, that they were covering up, but you have to build a case so that you can present it. And you can't just, people aren't going to just trust you. They'll, they have their psyops. Well, they'll start saying all kinds of crazy lies about you, and you'll be caught, speechless and can't move forward. So we have decided to be very patient in all of this and build our case with hard evidence. Of course, piles of irregularities and piles of circumstantial evidence. And what has happened now is this lead that is just unbelievable. It is amazing because it's kind of like a net. It has caught the fish. It has caught the fish and brought them in together. And so that's why I can't explain it better than that tonight, because we're just trying to fully understand it. And of course, we have to turn in our investigative analysis of it so that to those that are investigating state and federal level. We're hearing that Bill Hicks is not doing good. Just keep praying for Yvonne Rosales to step forward. It's very important. But if she doesn't, because she's missing out on such a calling from God, isn't she? I mean, this is like she has to put aside, because she is not a perfect person, okay? And it is very scary when you have some dirty laundry to do the right thing. It really is, because you're exposing yourself, right? And she has to put herself aside. She has to absolutely meet that exposure that's going to happen head on and do the right thing, no matter what happens, because she can come in because she's the rightful district attorney. See, that is the main reason why she needs to assert herself, because according to the Texas Constitution, and she should just grab onto this and hug it, right? Because according to the Texas Constitution, She is the rightful district attorney for the 34th Judicial District. No matter if we like her or not, no matter what anyone says, she's the rightful district attorney. And she needs to assert herself, and she needs to, the very law that she is bound to protect, she needs to honor. She needs to honor the very law she is supposed to enforce. And so we're hearing some really good news from all of that, and we just want to encourage her, uh, to do the right thing. And I don't think anyone is expecting her to come in, um, after what she's been through, to and what she knows Richard went through, so many, and what Glennon Oakley Jr. went through. I mean, it is this criminal network is deadly. It's a security breach. Leilani Hart has been allowed to operate, and she's dangerous. She's absolutely dangerous. When you have someone that is so emboldened with a little group around her, right? Hema Sochil, Hema Saboteur, emboldened to sabotage the very community, the very criminal justice system, the the military, that to breach and do it boldly is, they're dangerous people. And to lie about people, to absolutely discredit people that are, and I'm thinking about myself here, uh, you know, never have I thought of myself as a perfect person or anything like that, but I don't deserve the crazy lies about me. No way. No way. And to destroy someone, falsely to destroy a person's character, call them crazy. I'm not crazy. I've been doing this day in and day out for the love of my son, for the love of the El Paso area. I was born at White Sands. People, and I keep saying that for people to understand that I have roots in El Paso. I was born at White Sands Missile Range, one of the very few babies born there. It was a huge honor. My parents were part of the German American Club there on Fort Bliss. Um, we used to go over to Juarez all the time. Go over there. Um, it was much more open when I was younger. I was on the big swim team with Colonel Johnson. I swam in the replica, hiked in those mountains. Um, just I have roots there. So this, for that area that's so beautiful to be taken advantage, to be made the criminal trafficking hub of the United States, really. Um, I don't want to. I don't want people to suffer like that when I know that that area has so much to offer, and now they have this cartel network running a criminal trafficking there on Fort Bliss and in El Paso. I mean, the money is good. It's not hard to get to compromise um, people that have no love for their country, or all they care about is money. All they care about is money. Money and a sex cult, right? They're sex cult and money, and they're miserable. You know, that's what absolutely I've noticed is that they're absolutely miserable. And it costs so much money to live their lifestyles. Um, and I will be honest with you, because the Mormon congregation is involved in this. Many of them have multiple families, multiple, not just because of divorce and remarriage. They have multiple families, and it's requires um, a lot of money. And so this to uncover all of that. Now, we did that a long time ago. We covered that, and we haven't focused so much on that, because our focus is on our prime suspects, is on Leilani Hart. But she is absolutely in that Mormon congregation. And she is absolutely connected to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, which connects, um, there's so much that connects Richard's case to the Walmart case. And if we solve the Walmart case, we solve Richard's case. If we solve Richard's case, we will solve the Walmart case. I'm absolutely 100% sure of that. Because the Walmart case, and I'll tell you the breaches of security here, or there's so many breaches of security. And for an example, you see what the level that Crooks, this 20-year-old or 21-year-old or whatever, who shot at President Trump, got him in the ear, what he had to go through. And, we don't even know for sure if it really came from his gun, because this investigation is so stalled, and they've been, doing what they did to Richards, keeping it very, very quiet. But what really interested us is that Crooks had this phone, and he had these secure, I don't want to pretend like I know about all this so much, but there's these networks, right? And you want it to be secured, and his networks were foreign. His networks were from, I believe, Belgium, Germany, somewhere else. So these are foreign networks, and because of the laws and subpoenas and things like that, they say they're having a hard time accessing his phone, which I think is just a delay tactic. But what really, uh, what we learned through all of this, and it's what, 11:30 right now, but what we learned about this is these these networks, that they use them on purpose and locate them overseas, because that it does make getting a subpoena and getting authorization to breach the security so that they can read the messages much more difficult. And, so people that are in the law enforcement, like the CID, like the FBI, like secret or Secret Service, they would know about all of this, right? Because their job is all about security, right? And keeping communication secret and all of this stuff. CIA stuff. Um, and what happened is it clicked why the telephone numbers that were harassing us, why they were located where they were. And, it was very difficult to even try to tell people on a live stream where these numbers led to, because One, we were thinking, would they even believe us that we were able to trace these numbers, right? And we did. We did. We were able to trace these numbers. And where did they trace to? They traced to Toronto, Canada. They traced to Copenhagen, right? NATO. They traced to NATO, a little NATO base. Um, they traced to Seoul, Korea, South Korea, to right there at the FBI building. They traced. So you have NATO, you have yeah, a little base, the FBI building. You have Toronto, the City Hall in Toronto, which is a major government building, and then Silicon Valley, Santa Clara, California, right there. And the next place was the White House. And I kid you not. I kid you not. And it was so hard for me to, I was like, how am I going to tell them that? They're going to say, oh my gosh, this mother traced these phone calls that are like sexually explicit, harassing, threatening phone calls for months. One of them was traced back to the White House. And, you know, I'm not saying that that is where the phone call came from. I'm saying, like crooks, this whole thing with the phone is very interesting. Um, they use these relay networks, and so it makes. I wish I can explain. I wish I was really technical like that and I can explain it. But somebody had authorization in El Paso to use phones that relayed from somewhere else to keep them secure. That's what I'm saying. And that means that our agencies have been weaponized. That instead of establishing justice, instead of getting to the bottom of crime, they have been weaponized in order to protect the criminals. And Leilani Hart, before Richard was even born, was a confirmed convicted criminal. And she has a long history, y'all. Very long history. And even assault, and even insurance fraud. There's a lot there. A lot of harassing. Even her family called in and put in a complaint. Um, it's a very, very long history. And why has nothing been done? Why are criminals allowed to operate for decades? And when we talked to a victim, and he was a Marine, he he was like, well, she was part of the Samoan mob there in Hawaii. So Hawaii plays a big part of this. Um, and if you look at a map, I guess Hawaii would be important, I guess. Um, I'd like to know where, anyway, I don't know if I can say it on a live stream, but um, we know this. She was brazen. Hema Sochil was brazen, is brazen. has a lot of bravado, and they're operating together, and they're in this criminal group along with Bob Moore. It's Bob Moore's group. And Leilani just threw Bob Moore under the bus. Um, and expose the weaponization of our institutions, of our agencies against us. And then Robert Kennedy, who endorsed Trump just yesterday, but what was really, he gave a fantastic speech, y'all. That speech was amazing, I thought. I thought he did a really good job. Um, I'm not so easily impressed, but I thought he did a really good job just because he was willing to talk about the things that he really cared about that are so different than what normal politicians talk about. I thought it was pretty good. And he came out and endorsed Trump, um, which was a brilliant, yeah, he might be able to, that really put a lot of power behind him because he, what he was exposing was the weaponization uh, of the agencies that were used against him just because he wanted to run third party as an independent, right? And he talked about the weaponization of the agencies. And it was like, okay, that is very good news for us because that puts it full center the weaponization that we have experienced in Team Find Richard Halliday. And now with the crooks, with the phone stuff, people understand that there has been a weaponization, that what we're saying is absolutely true. Not only is it true, it's absolutely verified and possible that it can happen. Because some people go, oh, no, that's impossible. No, this is absolutely, it's been verified that it's totally possible that it happens. And we're saying it's absolutely confirmed true what we're telling you. And so when we're giving you the evidence, right? We're giving you the locations, we're giving you the information. Whereas Leilani's lies are just, where is any of the supporting evidence? We have all kinds of screenshots, we have videos, we have recordings. I mean, if you want to ask me, hey, how do we know that First Sergeant Michael Ruggiero didn't want to speak to you? Well, we got it on record. We got it on record. There he is. Um, so the new lead today, that's going to be very interesting. Um, I think this case is breaking for the first time. Um, because we have been putting one step in front of the other in faith. And when we received the declaration of death, we knew we had accomplished something so huge, so huge. And when we as a team found out who was running FitFem El Paso, because that's a big story. It's a huge story. It's not just Tuganon, Chan. It's not just Jules Tuganon Chan. It's bigger than that. And the fraud there If people say, what do you mean this case is about fraud, exposing fraud? Okay, we have it. We acquired FitFem El Paso. What more do you want to absolutely see that there is huge fraud going on? Huge fraud. And that was our intent. Because if we didn't acquire it, people would just have to take our word for it. But because we have hard evidence that we acquired it with the brand names, then they're going, how the heck did you get that? Because they're committing fraud. Because they're committing fraud. That's how we got it. And so we don't have to say it. We can just say, and we were threatened. Things happened after we acquired it that we haven't really told people. And all of that is hard evidence. Hard evidence to be used in a court. So, and for years, I don't know, has it been years? But I go day in and day out and I say, Leilani Hart is the prime suspect of the murder and the disappearance of our son, Richard Halliday. Now, we have hard evidence. What does she have? Where is she? Why hasn't she reached back? Why has she retaliated? Why is she fixated on Richard's case? Why did Dallas lie? Dallas said that he did not know Tavita Nusa. We have hard evidence that he absolutely not only knew Tavita Nusa, but had a long-standing family history with Tavita Nusa. Why did he lie? Why are they lying about so many things? Because they're totally exposed, and that's I think it's breaking. And what happened today, we're still trying to wrap our head around it. And with Bill Hicks, that's being shaken up. And I hope that with Mario Raskin Ortiz, that's being shaken up. Because you can't have a true criminal justice system in El Paso with an illegal, unqualified chief medical examiner that's making who makes $450,000 in El Paso? And he might say, oh, it's 438 or something like that. Well, around there. Who makes that? This is a very, very important job. You need to be an American citizen, and they'll come back and they'll say, oh, yeah, we did that. They are the biggest manipulators, illegal manipulators of documents. He is illegal and he's unqualified, and he's a criminal. He's a criminal. And Bill Hicks is a criminal. And he is a usurper. I didn't give him that word. He earned that word. That's the description. If you are a thief, you are a thief. If you are a cook, you are a cook. If you are a usurper, you are a usurper. Bill Hicks is a usurper. He's a trespasser. And we have hard evidence. And he's obstructing justice in so many cases, including ours. Including ours. And it's because if Richard's case gets solved, then the Walmart mass shooting case gets solved. It all comes unraveled. So with that understanding, and knowing that every corpse, every victim, and please understand, I hate talking like this, but this is Mario Raskin Ortiz was given control over every one of those victims. And our son's remains, we believe he also had our son's remains. So we cannot have justice, a semblance of justice, with these two in their offices. So to hear that one of them is being shaken, I'm praying that the other one is also. Because we have done, day in and day out, submitted open records to obtain hard evidence, and we've been blocked so many times, y'all. I mean, it's dirty. It is so dirty. And we have and every time they block us, that is also evidence to our claims that there's a weaponization of our system against justice. Because those records in our country are ours. They are ours. And we are allowed to look at them. And all of this manipulating and denying so that they can hide all their crimes, their fraud, their money laundering, their scheming on taxpayers' dimes for the money, for the power. Every time they deny us, we're like, okay, go ahead. Well, we're documenting this. We're documenting this, and we are putting in an appeals and saying, there's something up here. So we have absolutely tried our best, and still are, to expose the weaponization of our agencies, their and hopefully join us, because those open records belong to you too. And the manipulation and understanding of them, because like they'll send you something and you're like, wait a minute, but the evidence doesn't show that. What's going on here? So you have to keep asking. And is it worth it? Well, I don't want to submit El Paso to a criminal network and continuing to traffic children, drugs, weapons, ammunition. It's so worth it. And I want my son's remains, and I want those to be held accountable. And I want to free the likes of Michael Ruggiero and Jerry Jakovitz. They are so, it's kind of like in Lord of the Rings, that one king, he has been brainwashed and he's in like a trance and he's just like getting old and he's sitting on his throne and he's just getting old, and that evil guy is whispering in his ear and everything, and he just can't even act, and he's just like little like this. And all of a sudden, when I think it's Gandalf the White or Gandalf the Gray or whatever, frees him from this trance, frees him from the evil, then he's able, he gets young again. He gets healthy again. And he's able to join the battle on the right side. And, Jerry Jakovitz is so dirty, y'all. Michael Ruggiero is so dirty. James Hart, so dirty. These are all like NCO kind of group. And my dad was an NCO, so my dad was such a great guy. He was not dirty. I can contest to that. He's just like super honest, super honest. And when we went into that meeting with Jerry Jakovitz, he absolutely called him out. He knew. He knew. And they're like in these trances. So I got word now that he's not at the VA. Maybe he's, I don't know. But how heartbreaking that is for us to meet with him so many times, and he was just shaking. He was just shaking. It's like the deal with the devil is a terrible place. Is a really terrible place. And he was there when we were like so desperate. We're so vulnerable. And he knew. So I want to, he can face the death penalty. These people can face Leilani absolutely is facing the death penalty. Dallas Hart is absolutely facing the death penalty. Tavita Nusa is absolutely facing the death penalty. Absolutely. And this obstruction of justice, the weaponization, the abuse of power, the retaliation, we were retaliated against for wanting to know what happened to our son. We're still being Richard's still being retaliated against. And the command absolutely has the power to make it right. They have the media power. They have the manpower to do it. But maybe I'll give you a little tip today. The person that is the lead today was behind collaborating to control the false narrative, the framing inside the military. The military person that was in charge of framing, meeting with the certain command teams and NCOs, which is a command team, right? to formulate the narrative to give to the media, to give um, to the public, and more. Wow. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh, we have this dead soldier here because he was whistleblowing, and uh, the fraud surrounding. Uh, well, we had that Vanessa Guillen thing. We can't have another Vanessa Guillen. We have to cover this up. We have to protect ourselves. So we're going to tell everyone that this outstanding soldier really, had some problems and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And, because we want to save our skin. And we'll mislead the family. We'll bully the family so the family just gets tired and goes away. I mean, can you imagine these meetings? You know? Oh, let me call over to G3. G3, organize the obstruction of justice, the false narrative. Come on, G3, that's what we need. We need a way to scare the hell out of the unit, the witnesses. Um, you know, get to it. But we don't want anything for the task force find Richard Halliday. None of that. We're just going to show up out of uniform. That'll make it unofficial. We don't need an op board. We don't need nothing. Don't worry. And we'll just sit there like lumps and say, "Oh, tell us about Richard." And then we'll go home and we'll go to our picnic and whatever. I mean, this is the level of dereliction of duty. I mean, you name it. They they are facing some real consequences. Real consequences. And why would they go to that level? Yeah. It absolutely has to do with the Walmart case too. Why would they go to this level? To cover up, to hide, to mislead, to give misinformation. And it's becoming clearer and clearer because we have more and more evidence. And with that, the whole case is cracking. I'm like, okay, the case is cracking. So thank you so much for coming on. And um, God bless for staying on so late. Um, and please share and stay tuned for tomorrow. And I didn't even touch how Bob Moore has been thrown under the bus, how James Hart has been thrown under the bus, how I just there's so much, um, but it has to do with the weaponization. It has to do with the security breaches. It has to do with Leilani Hart and all of her connections, and you're going to see it clearly. Thank you so much. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.